Another road course.
So he was what, plus 135 last week.
Plus 135. He was 2-1, but he ended up actually like close to even.
Okay.
So what do you think he's going to be?
Close to even. Plus 150. Oh, I was off.
We're getting to the point now where if he wins another race, you're going to be hoping that you got plus 130.
This is true.
The next road course. And we talked about this last week, looking ahead to this race. This is the race better than last week. This is what we said last week, that Sonoma was going to be the better race to bet against Shane Van Gisbergen, because he hasn't raced here before in a Cup Series, in a Cup car, and because of the fact that of what you said regarding the difference between the street race version and this particular road course, which is definitely going to be a little bit more of an issue for him than, say, Mexico was.
Yeah. Sonoma is a much narrower course, a lot more elevation change, and not to say that he's not used to racing on narrow courses with a lot of elevation change, because you look at Mount Panorama in Australia, that's notorious for both of those things, and he's done great things there as well. So it could work in his favor, could absolutely work against him this week. So we shall see. I think as well, though, this is a different track. It's not like Mexico. It's not like Chicago. I do think this is a good opportunity for the Cup regulars that really know this track. They go to this track every single year and have been their entire lives. I think this is a chance they can really bring the fight to him.
Yeah, that's why I think that this is the week where if you're going to make a move regarding deciding to wager on other drivers, let's say that you were all in on SVG anyway, but let's say that you were kind of 50-50. That's why I wanted to bring it up last week, because last week we were basically saying, hey, even if you don't bet straight, there was some good, I even said this on Saturday, if you want to do some, some parlay wagering, go with SVG, but then maybe go in another direction or two with some other sporting events that you like. So if SVG wins, you've got that. And I actually almost had that, because I explained to everybody that I had taken 3 golfers on my parlay with SVG. One of them actually went all the way to the playoff and lost. If he had won, then on a $2 bet, I would have had $1,000 on Tommy Fleetwood to win the Open Championship in 2 weeks. $2 bet with SVG at plus 150, whatever he was at there. So that's how close I came to it. And that's why I think that's the way to go when you're looking at, especially now. Look, I won't say that in what's the next road course after this?
Watkins Glen.
Okay. I won't say that for Watkins Glen. If he winds up winning this race, problem is, like I said, I don't know if you're going to get a plus. You might start off at minus 150 if he wins this race at Watkins Glen, and then all of a sudden, forget it. No way am I putting up minus 150 in a NASCAR race. That ain't happening. So that's the thing. It's a tricky spot we're in. All right. Who do you think is next?
Well, Kyle Larson won last year. So I guess probably him. Yep. I was going to say +5. Yep.
Okay. Who do you think is... So this one might be a little bit more tricky.
I think it should be Chris Buescher.
Wow. Chris Buescher, the third choice.
He's been consistent top 10s. He wasn't last week at Chicago, but consistent top 10s at road courses. And by the way, he led 32 laps in this race last year. Probably Tyler Reddick's going to be third, though.
That sounds more likely.
Ty Gibbs. How about that?
Look at the spread, though.
Significant. Double.
Look at that.
And McDowell.
We've lost all value on Michael McDowell. See, this is exactly what we were talking about, too, in these situations like last week, where let's just say the roles had been reversed and SVG had dominated early and led all those laps and then had an issue with whatever it was that happens because McDowell, I mean, see, this is the thing that really ruins it for us as fans of wanting to watch entertainment is that McDowell clearly, we said it last week, was the value of every driver at 22-1, gets up there in second to start the race, takes over the lead at the get-go, and leads all the laps. Now, question. We talked about how it didn't work for Ty Gibbs in Mexico with the strategy. And I think that was more of luck, but whatever. McDowell and these guys, they clearly have the best car with SVG. They've just proved it. They can go head-to-head with SVG in this. Why did they make the decision to kind of do things a little bit different as far as staying out like they did? Was that the right call? Or was that overthinking things? And do you think that had a lot to do with the fact that something broke down?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think there's an old adage where if you think you cannot beat in racing, if you think you can't beat somebody, just do the opposite. Let them beat themselves. And I think probably with him and Trackhouse being so good at Chicago, maybe some of that started to creep in. So you start to do the opposite, get yourself off of the sequence that they're on because you can't necessarily beat them head to head. I don't think we got to see that though. McDowell had a fantastic start, went out and led the laps. Who would have known, on fresher tires with Shane coming on, if he would have been able to track him down and ultimately end up beating McDowell. But you never know. Trackhouse could have very easily made a mistake on pit road, could have been a slow tire change, could have been getting the fuel can connected, any of those things, and it would have given McDowell the advantage that he needed to be able to just stretch his legs. We never got that because he ended up having the throttle cable issue. But I think that's going to be something to watch here in Sonoma. Strategy at road courses has been very important. And last year, the guy who had the freshest tires, who pitted last, was the one that ended up winning, and he carved his way through the field to do so, and that was Kyle Larson. So
he did the same thing that Bell did at Coda earlier this year.
Exactly right. And Bell did that at Coda. So keep that in mind for Sunday when you're calling strategy and if you're betting real time or whatever. Generally speaking, you're going to want the freshest tires with the most grip. If you've got a fast car, you've got to have a fast car, obviously, but you want the most grip at the end of the race to be able to take the fight to these guys. And watch people trying to do the overcut this time at Sonoma. This is a track, again, where these guys go here every single year and have been their entire lives. This is only going to be SVG's, well, it'll be his first cup race, but he raced in the Xfinity Series, won that race last year. So he's got a little bit of track experience, but I think it's going to be a much more even playing field this week. He's still going to be great. He's still going to probably be better than the rest.
Yeah.
It should be closer than Mexico and Chicago.
This is like if anybody out there watching is into hockey, this is why whenever you hear things like if you've got a really great goaltender, maybe this applies to soccer too, doubtful. They don't get the type of impact as hockey goalies get. But in hockey, if your goalie is hot and maybe you're in a series and you just am having really a hard time, this guy's just stopping everything. What you hear them say is all of a sudden the shooters start to overthink it and they start trying to do things that they don't normally do because they can't figure out how to get pucks past the goalie. Well, this is exactly what has gone on the last two races. We talked about it in Mexico. Gibbs clearly proved early in that race that he was just as good as SVG, or at least close enough where anything could happen, and then decided to do something different. McDowell, the same thing, and it failed. Both of them failed. What if both of them had just played the race out and just let's see what happens? Who knows? So this is what I would hope that maybe the problem is it's because it is Gibbs, it is McDowell. These guys aren't their teams. Maybe they're just not that smart yet. They're not championship teams. They haven't even won. I mean, Gibbs hasn't even won a damn race yet in the Cup Series. McDowell has what, one or two?
He's got it. Yeah, he's got a couple.
Yeah,
Gibbs, I'd give more of a pass to McDowell. Gibbs is coming from Joe Gibbs Racing. I think they've got
that's true.
be able to get an experienced shot caller, whatever, strategist, etc., at every position around his team. So I think there's definitely something to be said for that, getting in their heads. Also the difference is SVG's got a race win, whereas Gibbs and McDowell don't. So when you're looking at somebody as dominant as SVG, typically, again, you're going to fall to that old adage of going and doing something a little bit different to be able to hopefully, whether it's draw out a mistake or at least take advantage of a mistake. If the number 88, Shane had made one, ultimately never happened.
I think they should be smart enough now to just say to themselves, hey, if we have a fast car, if it looks early in the race, if it looks like we can keep up with them, then just go. Let's go for it. Go mano a mano. Let's see what you can do. Not enough of these stupid mind games because it's not working. So, okay. Let's see where we got. Oh, before we move on. So just again, with these odds here, with these drivers, I don't think this is a good week to take Larson at all. He'd have to win back-to-back races at Sonoma. He is now in a situation overall in his last 7 races where his average finish is 17.5. So he is not anywhere near the peak he was a couple of months ago. And get this, he has an average start. He's got the 2 wins in 10 races, 5 poles
consecutive,
and an average start of 3.8 in his career. His average finish, 13th. I'm sorry, but I'm not taking drivers very often when their average their average finish is worse than their average start. That's not, you want the opposite. And Larson's not going well right now, and he's 5-1. So on top of all that, no way. I want nothing to do with Carl Larson at 5-1. Gibbs is an obvious. It's almost so obvious now. I'm really shocked he's 11-1. There's going to be so many people betting on Gibbs this week, and in those situations, I think he's in trouble because again, I just think it's just so obvious. I mean, of course he's got to be one of the top contenders this week, and he just finished second. Again, I mean, what did you think was going to happen last week? And now the same thing I think is going to be happening this week. And if you look at Gibbs overall, he doesn't have anything to show for it in his 2 cup races. But he did start 10th and 6th in the first two seasons. And in the Xfinity Series, he led 26 laps in last year's race in which Shane Van Gisbergen won. But he crashed in the race. SVG wins. And then he was 4th in 2023 in the Xfinity. So we know Gibbs can drive road courses. And in his last 5 races, he's got an 8.8 average finish. So that's why I'm getting double the money on Gibbs, who's clearly hot. Larson's not. I'm definitely going Gibbs over Larson. And again, like we said with McDowell, we've just lost all the value now because now we've got to take a driver. It's not that it's what we saw with the equipment. It's like, this is what we're wagering on, is that we're wagering, I guess, on. Yeah, if we take him, is that's the team, that's the equipment. We don't know if it's going to hold up. We don't know if they're going to overthink things. But I guess still at 11-1, based on his numbers here, you still have to go with him because he's been so strong here in his last 3 appearances.
Yeah, the other thing about Larson is that Sonoma doesn't often produce back-to-back winners, and we've talked about it with every driver who has won this season and then who also won last year. To sweep races at a track or go back-to-back wins at the same track is tough to do. It's really hard to do at Sonoma. Obviously, Truex did it. He was a great road racer 2018, 2019. But prior to him doing that back then, the last person to do that was Jeff Gordon all the way back in 1998, 99, and 2000. So that just kind of tells you a little bit about the competitiveness of Sonoma and how these drivers have gotten better at this track the more times that they come to it. Truex, Gordon certainly stand out as road course racers. We've got several great road course racers now in this series. So definitely one to watch. I think Larson at that price probably in comparison with somebody like a Gibbs. I would absolutely take Gibbs. Remember, Gibbs last year was fast. He qualified 10th. He ended up making a mistake. I think he clipped the inside turn, maybe on turn 11, and then went into the wall maybe at 1, somewhere around the start finish area before you go up the hill. So it was kind of a boneheaded mistake on his part. I think without a mistake this year, I think he'll probably be top 5, if not fighting for a win.
And we'll be on the air on Saturday at about 4 o'clock. That's when I should be recording the qualifying report. So it should be available around 4:30-ish on Saturday. Keep this in mind. There have been 35 races at Sonoma. Only 2 of the 35, 2 started outside the top 14. That's it. And it happened at back-to-back years. 2007 and 2008, Juan Pablo Montoya, Kyle Busch, 2 of the best road course drivers of their era. And they came back from 30th and 32nd. So if you start outside the top 14, when we talk on Saturday, curtains. The last 6 winners all started in the top 8. And the NextGen winners have all started, obviously, in the top 8, including 5th. Manufacturer-wise, even though Ford has not won in the last 6, they did finish 2nd and 3rd last year and won both sessions on Saturday. So because of that, I think the manufacturer situation is pretty mixed up. I wouldn't take a driver or not take a driver because he's driving a certain make this week. Okay, let's go to the next group. There's your Busher. Now, Byron's another one that is going through a really bad spell right now. No way am I touching William Byron at this point. He's got an average of 28.2 in his last 5 races. Of course, he had all sorts of bad luck when things got started on Sunday, and he's never had any success here. So 1 top 10, that's it. So forget William Byron. The other 3 are interesting. You mentioned Busher. Busher has finished in the top 4 in the last 3 at Sonoma. He led, like you mentioned, he led 32 last year from 26th. And he's finished in the top 10 twice on the road courses. And again, Chicago's a street race, so he does have 2 top 10s on 2 road course races. It was 22-1 last week. That's been what you've been getting, sort of like McDowell. The value's gone, but it's still double digits. Reddick is interesting now because of one major thing. He's got his mojo back. He's back-to-back top 5s, and we know he's really good on road courses, including 8th last year, leading 35 laps from 2nd. He also started 2nd in 2023 and 5th in 2022, except his finishes were not good. Matter of fact, his average starting position in 4 races, Cup races at Pocono, is 4.8. Sonoma is 4.8. His average finish is 23.8. So that would worry me, but you're getting 14-1 on Reddick on a road course, and that's pretty good, especially since he's got back-to-back top 5s, and especially because in his 3 races here, he started in the top 5, all 3 races, so he's putting himself in position. Now he's kind of feeling good about himself, so I think Reddick's even in the game, and Elliott continues to be a bargain number at 14-1, and he's probably a better bet this week anyway than last week because he had won the week before, so it's a little easier and it was a street race. Here, he's come to a track that lately, matter of fact, his last 4 races have all finished in the top 10, including 4th last year. And he has 4 top 5s and a runner-up in 8 career races at Sonoma. So, yeah, I mean, you got 3 live, little mini long shots, if you want to call them, in Busher, Elliott, and Reddick.
For sure. I'm surprised that Byron is in this group, let alone ahead of the other 3, to be honest with you. His record at Sonoma is just not good. He's qualified better than he's finished. He's 1 top 10, and that was back in 2022, and he finished 9th. And like you said, is on the worst stretch of his season so far. So very much in a slump, coming to a place where he's not done great things. Chase Elliott, we talked about him being a great road course racer. We've been saying the past few road courses that now with this next gen car, his mojo went away, but he seems to be getting it back again. And I think that you can see that in his results at Sonoma. Since the next gen car has come, he's been 8th, 5th, and 4th last year. He's led laps in all of those races. So it seems like he's getting it back. He just has never won at Sonoma before, but I'd be willing to take Chase Elliott regardless of that this week because I think he can get it done. Tyler Reddick, I think, is very interesting because he qualified on the front row the last 2 times. And by the way, last year, along with Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick led 35 laps, and he and Buescher had the most laps led, I think, in that race, if I'm not mistaken. And then that just sets up Buescher, who finished 3rd, led 32 laps last year in this race, but he started 26th. And we've been seeing him like clockwork score top 10s on road courses. And by the way, he's the one that went head to head with SVG at Watkins Glen and forced SVG into a mistake and ended up getting by and taking the win in that race last year. So Chris Buescher, if given the opportunity, can get it done. He can definitely get it done at Sonoma, a place where he's finished 2nd, 4th, and 3rd the last 3 races. So Chris Buescher is my top choice here. Elliott and Reddick, I'd probably put together, maybe give Elliott the edge, though Reddick with his hotness right now, great run of form the past 2 races. Byron shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Yeah, and you know what? Elliott is probably a good, if you're thinking of taking Elliott to win the championship, you might want to do it now because he's got 9-1. If he wins again, I think those odds are going to he might turn out to be the second choice right behind Larson if he wins again. So I think you've got a shot now to take advantage of it. Plus you're getting 14-1 if you want to do that here too. Okay. Next up. All right. So now we still have some other, and see, this is part of the good thing about having SVG in the race with him being an even money favorite. Is that if he doesn't win, most of the other drivers are getting pretty decent odds, better than they normally would. We've already gone through some. So Bell's not one of them, though. Bell has not done anything here. I mean, yeah, he's got a couple top 10s, but he's never led a lap. And in his last 3 races coming in here, he's got an average of 23.6. So he's not in a rhythm. And he hasn't done anything here. So I know he's a good road course driver, but no, I'm not interested. It wasn't like he dominated COTA. It wasn't like he dominated Mexico, finishing 2nd. So no, not interested. I got other drivers at 14-1 that we just went over. They're a lot better options in my mind. AJ, we haven't talked a whole lot yet about this year of the road courses, but I think this is as good as time as any to maybe say, maybe this is a good week. AJ's got a decent history here, including 6th place finishes the last 2 years. He's coming off a 6th place finish last week, and you're getting pretty good odds at 18-1. We know he can win road course races. He was also 2nd a couple years ago in the Xfinity race here. Chastain and Busch at 22-1. Now, Chastain has got the thing we talked about where you want to finish better than you started. Well, Chastain has an average starting position of 19.4 here in 5 races. His average finish is 12.4 with 4 top 10s out of 5. 1 top 5. Hasn't led many laps at all, just 1, so really nothing. But he's always in the top 10 here. And so I think he's really dangerous if he qualifies in the top 5, which he's never done. He's coming off a 10th place finish last week. He's been 16th or better in all 3 of these road course street races this year, and you're getting a big 22-1. He's not my top choice as far as these long shots, but hey, if you want to take him, I have nothing against that. And Kyle Busch, considering he finished 5th last week, was a really big result for him that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt again at 22-1. Now get this. He started in just RCR, the last 2 with RCR only. He started 29th last year, finished 12th. That's 17 spot improvement. 2023, he started 12th, finished second, led 17 laps. That's a 10 spot improvement. So watch out if Kyle Busch qualifies in the top 10 on Saturday. He's got 2 wins in his career at this track, 7 top 5s in his career at this track. But just recently, RCR, he's proving that he can do well here. He's got 5th place finishes in 2 of the 3 road course street races this year. And you're getting a big number. And you know that if he is up there and in contention for a win, just talked about it with Gibbs or Haley, you know for sure if Kyle Busch gets a chance to win a race in the last 5 laps or so, and he don't care who's next to him, especially, if SVG, it don't matter. If he feels he's got a winning car, not like with the Bell situation, he knew he didn't have a winning car. He knew Bell was fresher. He didn't have enough laps. He wasn't going to do anything. But if he feels he has a winning car and SVG, say, is right there, or let's say SVG is in front of him, and he's right on his rear, SVG ain't surviving. That's all I'm going to say.
Kyle Busch is definitely hungry for a win, and this might be a place. Hopefully, he could break that drought. I absolutely agree with you. Obviously, the 2 career wins. He's always been quick at this track, and as you mentioned, since joining RCR, he even has a runner-up finish. That was in 2023. I want to say he was poised for a top 10 last year, even from the 29th spot, but I think he ended up getting caught up in some other issue at the end or toward the end that made him lose some spaces. So I want to say Busch's 12th place finish last year could have been a top 10 and should have been a top 10. Somebody check me on that. If you would, go ahead and put it in the comments. But Ross Chastain, exceptional here. Can you imagine what his 12.4 average finish would be if he didn't have that first race where he started 37th and finished 33rd? Just throw that out the window, and you're talking something less than 10. 7th, 7th, 10th, and 5th in his last 4 tries here. This is a track that he gets, and I like Ross Chastain here a lot. I also like AJ Allmendinger. It was really good to see him be competitive last week at Chicago. Hopefully that gives him something to go on this week and be competitive again. And then actually, just to go back to the thought on Ross Chastain, he's also SVG's teammate, and we saw Chastain, I think, do better than expected at Chicago last week too. So maybe some of that knowledge transfer is wearing off over onto the number 1 machine for Chastain. So anybody but Bell here, I would say. I would agree with you. I'd probably put it's tough to put a difference between Chastain and Allmendinger. Those probably Chastain. I'd say Chastain, just from a gut feel perspective. I would put him on top of the other 2.
And the other thing that is better this week than last week is, especially since it's a street race, is that the options are much better here this week, much better. So look, if SVG was coming into Sonoma and he was just the dominant driver, like he looked like either at Mexico or Chicago coming in, it'd be different. But we don't know. It's a mystery of what he's going to do on Sunday. Nobody knows. We can guess. We could say more than likely, but we really don't know. And that mystery thrown in with the fact that all these other veteran drivers, as CJ has mentioned several times here, knows what they're doing at this track and have been successful here, and you're getting really good odds. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, if SVG is going to beat you this week, then just basically let him beat you is what I'm going to say. If he beat you, and that's it. And I lost, nothing I could do about it, but I am going to make sure that I'm going to take about 5 nice double-digit long shots and see if I can beat him. Because I think this is as good as a week as you're going to get in a road course to beat them all season in my mind. Okay. Next up, start to get to the big ones. And out of this group, I think the obvious one is Bowman, even though he doesn't have any great results here under NextGen, no top 10s, all top 20s, but he's got all top 10s on the road street races. That's a good sign. 8th last week. And he's got a 6.5 average in his last 4 races. So he's got his groove going again. 3rd, 11th, 4th, and 8th. And you're getting a big number at 28-1. Briscoe has nothing here, like most tracks. Again, he's got a new team and all that. He did lead the 13 laps last week, but that was just out of sequence. And Logano should never have been 90-1 last week. Now you're getting back to where it should be at 45-1. Blaney at 25-1. So his odds are down a little. And again, keep in mind, last year, Logano was on the pole and Blaney was fastest in practice. The other interesting thing is, I think it was McDowell and Buescher were the drivers who finished second and third. So those were your 4-4 drivers. So they're all different. So again, that's why I say, even though Ford hasn't shown anything here, maybe they're getting close. Maybe last year was a sign that they're that close to coming off and actually having a good week at Sonoma. So keep that in mind.
I would probably put Logano top of this group. It's tough with Bowman in there because I think Bowman's got a lot of potential at Sonoma. Driving a Hendrick Chevrolet, obviously Larson's very good, Elliott's very good, Bowman's won on road course as well, or street course as well. But Logano last year started on pole. He was caught up in a crash, a relatively early crash. He led 16 laps up until that point and ended up finishing 21st. He ended up getting stage points in the second stage. So he fought back from that, just basically didn't have the afternoon that a pole sitter probably would have been hoping for with that crash. And the year before, in 2023, he started 17th, so he didn't qualify very well. We probably didn't talk much about him, but he ended up driving all the way up to the third place finishing spot. So that's two really good races, minus some bad luck last year for Logano, which I think maybe gives him the nose for me versus a Bowman. Briscoe's done nothing here. I would avoid him. And Blaney, I think the same is true at most races, road courses. When we talk about Ryan Blaney, he can be a consistent, solid top 10 type of guy. And I think he's shown that here at Sonoma as well, but he's not the one that's going to be out there bleeding the laps, dominating the competition, really taking the fight to somebody like SVG. So Ryan Blaney, from a fantasy perspective, I think he's a pretty solid top 10 choice, regardless probably of where he qualifies. If he qualifies outside of the top 20, don't take him. But if he's somewhere inside the top 20, I think he's probably capable of a top 10, regardless of where he starts. But for me, I'd go Logano, Bowman, Blaney, then Briscoe.
Yeah, Blaney has 4 top 10s in his last 5 at Sonoma. This is, I know he won at Charlotte, but this might be his best statistical road course. So, and yeah, if you're looking for some deep long shots, I think 3 out of the 4 are not bad options. Okay, and then we move over to some of the others. Not many more left. Suarez, who knows what's going on in his head. Hocevar is just, he's showing you that he's just not ready yet, especially on a road course. He doesn't have the patience. Hamlin.
Self-imposed mistake last week. He cut the turn way too close and ended up creating that Chicago traffic jam.
And he started strong again. And it looked like, he had some good speed there, but he's just not a road course, not right now. So he just needs more experience on road courses. That's all it's going to come. Hamlin, who was a nice long shot pick, I thought last week, and then he just basically can't even start the car on Saturday, gets into a backup car and winds up finishing in the top 5. So it actually did work out fantasy wise, but I actually think Hamlin is not a bad long shot again, because he has 4 career top 5s here. In his last 5 races this year, 4 of them are in the top 5 with a first and a second. He's coming off the 4th place finish last week. And if you look at it here, he's had some really bad finishes here in NextGen, like really bad. But he was on the pole in 2023, leading 33 laps before he was involved in a wreck. And the main thing to keep in mind is, in his last 5 at Sonoma, his starting position. Now, last year, he started 25th, but he had engine problems in the race. Might have something to do with why he started 25th. The other 4 starts, 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th. So he seems to be starting well, and that's important, as we talked about before here at Sonoma. So I don't think he's the worst long shot at all when you're getting 65-1 on Denny Hamlin. And Austin Cindric just seems to be in some sort of a fog in the road courses this year.
Really disappointed with Cindric on the road courses, and disappointed with Cindric at Sonoma as well. Started off really strongly with his first race here, qualified 25th, ended up racing all the way to the 5th position. That's what I would expect from Cindric, given what he's been capable of on these types of tracks. But since then, he's done nothing. Qualified outside of the top 25 the next 2 times, finished outside of the top 20 both of those times as well. Really hasn't made an impression. Maybe he can turn it around this week. We'll see. He's definitely got the teammates that are able to do it, and he's definitely got the skills to be able to do it. It's just a matter of him being able to bring those out and put them to bear. Daniel Suarez won here, but again, like you said, what's going on in his head, that was really an anomaly compared to the rest of his starts. He hadn't finished better than 12th prior to then or since then at Sonoma. So, qualifies well inside the top 10, inside the top 15 on a regular basis. Maybe that's where he'll be again. But again, losing his ride, saying goodbye to Trackhouse Racing for 2026, and focusing maybe a little bit on what he's going to do next year. Plus, track that hasn't, aside from that win, been all that great to him. Just a lot of question marks around him this week, which brings us to Denny Hamlin, who I think is on the best run of any driver right now. Just he took the week off Mexico, so we don't know what he would have been there. Gave him, the grace period of a week of not taking him to see what he was going to be able to do after taking that week off, having a life change with the new child, coming back, etc. And he's really hit the ground running, and I think that's going to continue. I think Hamlin's at the top of his game right now. It would not surprise me to see him battling amongst the top 5, if not potentially going for the win if things go his way. Like you said, he crashed out in 2023 despite starting on the pole and led 33 laps. He can definitely get it done here.
Yeah, I don't understand what he's doing at 65-1.
It
just doesn't make any sense. So take advantage of that. Keep in mind, Cindric has a starting average position of 29th. So if he qualifies and practices well on Saturday, that's completely different. We'll talk about it. The odds are big enough that you should still get good numbers on him because he's 80-1. So he's definitely somebody to wait and see if he does anything on Saturday. As far as the rest, I think you could see actually even right there. Let's just stop right there with the first one being Ryan Preece. I think he's the only other driver that I'd be like, okay, why not? I know he doesn't have a lot of success on road courses, but that's pre-RFK. 7th last week, 12.2 average in his last 8 races on the season with 5 top 10s. So there's a lot to like there. I don't think he's going to win. I'd much rather take Denny Hamlin and even Logano and so forth. But he's 80-1. Things are going nice for him. And you never know because it's a road course. Anything can happen. So I think Preece is the only other one. Here are the rest. I don't know if any of these other drivers stick out for you.
No, Preece, I think, is worth a look at as well, just because he's been pretty good at the last 2 road courses. Finished 15th in Mexico City, which you recall was a rainy and dry one. So that was a tough race to be able to do anything well at, and he got a top 15. So good for him. And then the same thing, Chicago actually was really impressive. Started 7th and finished 7th. I didn't expect to see him in the top 10, certainly from qualifying, let alone the race, and he did both. So I think Preece is really living up to the opportunity that he has with RFK Racing, being right on the cusp of being able to make it into the playoffs. So I think we'll see a consistent execution from him this week, and could be another top 15, top 10 kind of day from him.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe even take a look at the playoff standings again. I know it's I hate to have to take a look at it on NASCAR.com, but
Preece is 2 points behind Bubba Wallace in the last playoff position. Bubba's got 443 points. Preece is 17th and with 441.
So this is it right here then, right?
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So there you go. Preece neck and neck. We still have a long way to go.
Yes.
And Kyle and AJ, I mean, Kyle is the one that really, Gibbs, do we have a long enough time period for Gibbs to get in without winning?
No, I think Gibbs is in a must-win situation at this point.
All right. So there you go. That's how it looks. Even Reddick hasn't won yet this year, but he's the one that is the most comfortably in. Okay. So I go first.
Yes, you do. Yep.
Okay. So I guess I'm just going to go with the obvious one, which is probably stupid. But look, I've been taking him lately, and why not just keep taking him? It's not like I'm a newbie, so I'm taking Ty Gibbs.
That would have been my top choice, so I will go ahead and take Busher.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin, by the way, you can check out Kevin's picks. His video comes out usually between Friday and race day. And Kevin actually took, I think it might have been his second straight week where he took the same driver that I did. And I had to warn him. I said, can't do that, Kevin, because we have no chance now. I know you're new to this, but I've been doing this for a long time. And when you get 2 or 3 guys that are doing a show and analyzing, and then you get your picks, if you got the same driver, it ain't happening. It's not going to work because there's too many other drivers to choose from. And if you both got the same idea, that means a lot of other people have got that idea, which we've already talked about. You like them, I like them. So that's why I said at the very beginning, I don't have a good, I like him this week, obviously, is the obvious pick, but I think it's almost too obvious. All right, because too obvious does not work most of the time. I will go with, man, I'll go ahead and take Reddick.
I'll go Allmendinger.
Okay, AJ. And AJ's in a pretty decent spot. He's actually had a halfway decent season. I know you'd like to see a little bit better, but for the most part, 18th, I mean, he's right there.
18th in the standings, 43 points behind Wallace. He's won.
Is that enough? Can he get in without a win?
It's tight, but I'd say Allmendinger probably is the cutoff line. He really could use.
But he's not the type of driver that's going to.
He's not going to. I think
top 10s and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
he's got to win. All right, the final pick. So I got between Kyle Busch, Bowman, and Hamlin. I'll go ahead and take Kyle.
I will take Hamlin then. Can't pass up him at that number.
Okay, there you go.